So, guys out in Revolution Land and the Rake Land, I would like to welcome the founder and CEO of Reservoir Watches, my friend Francois Moreau. How are you, sir?
Very good. Wait, thank you very much. I'm fine. Based in Paris, we are just exiting the lockdown period, and we are re-engaging with the business. So I'm super energized and very happy to move on now.
That's fantastic. I think just the idea that the lockdown is being lifted around the world, at least in the majority of the world, is already giving people so much of a wonderful sense of optimism. So it's great to hear that from you.
Yeah, I mean, we are, a young brand, so we have a very positive outlook. We've seen a very fast growth of our business in the 24 market where we operate now. So we are very pleased with that. And of course, this enthusiasm is even better when our retailers reopen, re-engage with their customers. But we have also learned, different ways to do business. I mean, I had the first Zoom event with clients, customers of one of our retailer in the US. So we had probably more than 60 people there, with all wearing Reservoir hat that we provided before with French wine and cheese. So we had a fabulous event. I mean, it was very simple, very open. Questions. We discussed about the product, what's coming, the inspiration behind Reservoir, why we are doing all that, and it was just great. I mean, it's something we would probably not have done in the previous world.
Phenomenal. Well, I had the great pleasure of meeting you last year at CR, the disc fair in Mexico City, which we hope will be happening again this year. And if it does, I'll certainly be there. And I remember walking into your booth and for the first time actually holding in my hands what has become one of my favorite watches. And that watch is the Hydrosphere, right? So for those of you guys that are just, maybe not so familiar with Reservoir, but you should be, their watches are all centered around jump hour and retrograde minute complications, but doing it in a really fun and inventive way. And what I loved about the Hydrosphere and I believe it is the world's only retrograde minute diving watch, right? That's so cool. So tell me a little bit about how you came up with the idea for this.
So the Hydrosphere, I mean, it's just one additional step of our journey. So Reservoir started from with that kind of devices. That's a meter coming from a plane. And that's our inspiration. I'm a great fan of measuring instruments of all ages from all industries. So it can come from a car, from a plane, it can come from a submarine, it can come from a space rocket. All this universe come with some specific device, and I'm a great fan of all the details of these little hands moving and giving you the level of fuel, of energy, or whatever. But I'm also a fan of what it means in terms of exploring the skies, exploring the seas. That all these crazy guys, I mean, this Lindbergh crossing the ocean, or this Chuck Yeager going with a jet going almost in the space. That's just amazing. I mean, the courage of these men. Amazing. And if you go to a Bell X1 cockpit, it's not just these are beauties, but is what happened in that plane 50 years ago. So I'm really fascinated by that since I'm a boy, actually. So being fascinated by that for many years now with my white hair, you can see I'm not just a student anymore, unfortunately. So I've been viewing, buying, photographing a lot of meters. And one day I was driving and I realized my RPM, my RPM gauge was working exactly like a retrograde minute. I'm a great fan of watches, obviously. I mean, you don't do watches if you don't have the passion in the blood, but I have this passion. And I saw this retrograde minute. I say, wow, if I do watches that work with a retrograde minute, I need to add a jumping hour, obviously. And then, because it's in the car, so you have a lot of little hands telling you about the fuel, for instance, like the E-Type iconic dashboard. Then I put a little power reserve looking like a fuel gauge, and that should be quite different, very different, quite unique. And this started like that in my car. And then immediately when I came back home, I started drawing, and I drew the first 4 collections that we will be launched almost 18 months after, a bit less than that. So, but exactly the 4 were already just drawn in a very basic way. So coming back to your question, sorry, I'm a bit long, but it's a long story. Then, when I started to design the first collections, cars, planes, and submarine, I had in mind already the scuba diving manometer. because I did dive a lot. I'm still diving less as before, but I've done a lot of diving. Actually, when I was 13-year old, I went to a scuba diving club in Lyon, so you have no sea there, but I wanted to dive at 13, and the guy told me, "Hey, kiddo, come back when you are 16." And the day of my birthday of the 16, I was in that club and I started to dive. And one day I was going to dive in the winter in the lake close to Lyon, and I took back my equipment the day before. And I remember that night I took the scuba diving gear and I went into my bath just to breathe below the water. That's just crazy. So. Scuba diving manometer telling you how much air is left in the tank. It's also a fascinating instrument, and if you scuba dive regularly, I almost died one day because I was not properly equipped. And since that day, when I'm diving, I'm always taking a very close attention, of course, to my air, and therefore this gauge is very important. And I realized that taking, as we are doing with planes, cars, and soon motorbikes and boats, when I take a scuba diving manometer, the design codes are very specific. Color code, font type, dial shape, and so forth. And when I combined all that, I decided, well, no lugs. We don't want lugs because you will find never lugs on a scuba diving manometer. And I want to have the black dial might not be the most popular because generally scuba diving gauges are white, and I had been lucky to be right. We are selling more. The three colors that we have work very well, but the white is great. And generally, scuba diving watches always black dials or blue dials. And we started from there, and it was obvious. It just came out as something very very natural. Because again, the inspiration is giving us the answer. So we are not scratching our heads. How do we do a scuba diving watch? We say no. We will do a scuba diving watch based on that instrument.
That's really cool. So, I think this is the first time that we've actually launched a preview of a limited edition almost 6 months before we actually released the watch. But I guess the idea, so we're doing this charity auction, and thank you so much for participating in it to benefit the World Health Organization's COVID Solidarity Fund. But we, wanted to offer up the prototype of our collaboration, which is going to launch actually in January next year. So for those of you guys who are just tuning in, basically what's happening is Revolution's going to open its first shop. And our shop is going to be in the Maldives. There's going to be more information related to that and why. But so that became the inspiration for this watch. What would be a reservoir hydrosphere if it was created specifically for the Maldives? And I remember, Francois, you were looking at the color of the sunset reflected in the ocean. And you said, why don't we do a bronze watch with this beautiful sort of sunburst-like dial? Also in this, I like to think of it as the color of the sunrise or sunset, but actually it's a beautiful bronze-y colored dial as well, complemented by this lovely sort of brown ceramic bezel. But tell us a little bit about this collaboration, because is this the first time you're using bronze?
It's the first time we are using bronze for the hydrosphere. So we already have the Submariner watch, which is a stainless steel or bronze casing, and the bronze works pretty well with marine environment. So it really recall, when you go to a old boat, all this equipment will be with copper brass generally. So it looks like the periscope in the submarine. So it's very very relevant. And bronze, of course, is scaphandre. So it's the ancestor of the scuba diving gear. The guys going with this big equipment that's generally done in copper or in bronze, because it resists very well to corrosion. So therefore, to me, it was obvious that after launching Hydrosphere last year, it was coming to be an extension of our range. And then we met in CR, and I agree with you. And we will also be at CR this year. Finger crossed if we can, but we talk with Carlos, and we really expect to be there. And then it was obvious that, well, we had a good fit. It's working. We know we will do it. Well, let's do it together. You have your Maldives plan, which is a great initiative. So let's do it together. And then we just moved on. And then this came with this charity auction that was a very timely to pre-launch or pre-announce this edition. Actually, so if we take the hydrosphere that we've just have seen, you see, as we discussed, we have no lugs, right? So the trick is the strap is screwed below the casing, which give this no lugs feeling. This feeling is even stronger with the rubber strap. The problem is bronze. The skin doesn't like bronze, right? So if you put a metal band done in bronze, your wrist will look like a black or will look like a stained. Not very nice, to be honest. So the feeling, it's not dangerous, but it's not very nice to have dirty wrist. So what we said, we won't make a bronze strap, and we won't use a stainless steel strap to go with a bronze casing. That's not nice, right? So the idea was we will keep the rubber, of course, but because Reservoir we always provide 2 straps, then we said, well, let's make a NATO strap. Very cool, very appropriate for diving. But then how do we fix? Yeah, thanks for the visual. How do we fix the NATO strap in a screwing device? So we developed this stirrup, this little components that will be screwed below the casing and will allow. And these are bronze, but then the NATO strap will protect the skin, so there will be no contact, so no particular problem with that. And then this I think it looks very cool. And it's removable. You don't want to get the stirrup, you just unscrew it, put back the rubber. You want the stirrup, you put it, and then you put the NATO strap. I think it's quite original, and it makes this piece very distinctive with the rest of the Hydrosphere collection.
That's amazing. So what I love about this watch also is how brilliant and how ingenious you did in terms of redesigning the bezel of this watch too, right? Because again, you have got a retrograde minute indicator. So guys, if you're looking at this, basically what happens is the seconds that sweeps from 00 to 60, and when it hits 60, it jumps back to 00. Then of course you have the hour, which is at 6 o'clock. That will jump to the next hour. But then the question is, of course, how do you create a bezel for a retrograde minute diving watch, because it doesn't go all the way around, right? So if you see here, there's actually 2 points in which you can align for the watch. One, it says on the left-hand side, it says use up to 45 minutes, right? And then if you go to the other side of the bezel, where you see the blue markers, it says use after 45 minutes, which basically means that the hand will jump and then find back the correct position on the bezel to continue allowing you to have a reading of elapsed dive time. That, like, just to wrap my head around that, I would have never been intelligent enough to figure that out. So I really have to applaud you for achieving this. So this is going to be a watch that we're launching in 2021. This is the prototype, the actual only piece in existence when it comes out. So guys, bear in mind that if you win this watch, it will only come out. When do you think it will arrive, Francois?
Well, it should be late July, early August. We tried to push to make it earlier, but I want to be cautious here. So probably, end of summer, something like that, late August. Late July.
In the world by a very large measure, and as Francois was saying, also, you don't want to have bronze on your skin, obviously, so the case back isn't a contrasting material, but one that is fine for your skin. It's going to have this engraving on it. It will be this exact watch, which is numbered 00. And this is interesting too, because now you're seeing the watch on a rubber strap. So you can see in the bottom of it, there's these screws, 4 of them, 2 on each strap, and that screws directly into the case and helps to retain your strap. And in the case of the NATO, you have these 2 bronze stirrups that screw in there as well, and then you can attach your NATO strap. So maybe let's take a look at the front of the watch with the rubber strap as well, because I love the fact that you've got the option to wear both as well. It's such a cool watch. And then I guess we should also mention that whoever wins this watch also will be given a 2-night stay at the hotel where we will be having our shop. So you will have 2 nights in the Maldives, which from what I understand is quite an expensive place to go to. So that'll be a treat from both Francois and myself over at Revolution. But so here you see the watch on the rubber strap, and it's great because it completely changes the identity somehow.
Yeah, it makes a round casing, lugs free. So it's a very manometer style, and that again was the vision. And you're right, on the bezel actually it's not being smart or intelligent. It's just taking the project and saying, oh guys, by the way, because we have a retrograde minute, the bezel is not working. What do we do? So we used brains here. We call it brain juice, and we say, okay, how do we crack that? And then we just made simulation, and we found out that we needed two graduation. And the moment we find the idea, it was very simple. But you're right. Initially, was how we do it? How do we do that? Do we do an internal one? Same for the indicator of functioning, because scuba diving, what you need to have a visual indication that the watch is properly running and it's not stopped.
Right. So instead of a normal seconds hand, you have this disc in the center that
exactly.
rotates second that the watch is in their power, because that's part of the ISO kind of rules for a diving watch.
Exactly.
That's
That's a little small white line that tells you that is slightly moving, so you can see the watch is working. So it's a little detail, but again, we had to crack that because we didn't want to add a second hand. We could, but that would dilute the single hand aspect of the reservoir watch.
It's so cool. I absolutely love it. And then we have a beautiful artwork that comes along with the watch as well. Am I correct, Francois?
Yeah, absolutely. So we know we have a reservoir. We love watches, but we also love art, design, straps. So we have some amazing straps coming from other collections done with some really artists. Really, I can't say more this morning, but we have some more stuff coming on that. We love that, and in Paris you have such a diversity of artists and creators that is just fascinating. And some of them we are contacting them. Some of them are contacting us saying, I really would like to do something with reservoir. And in that profile of artists, there is an illustrator, a very gifted man, Alain, that he became a friend of the brand. We asked him, can you become the official illustrator for Reservoir? And he said, I love the brand, so he make always funny drawings. Like the day we moved in our new headquarters in Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré in the heart of Paris, in the luxury part of Paris. Then he just he sent us a drawing of a submarine just park in front of the new building. It was so amazing with a bit of water. So anyway, this guy is very gifted, and we asked him, we would like really to have the Maldives edition drawing that will reflect what we both of us discussed away for some weeks, just getting the feeling of what we are trying to achieve here. And I think it's working pretty well. So this heart piece will be the first one. It will be numbered 000 out of 100. Yeah, that's the one. And I think it's a very balanced and very nice on a parchment paper. So it's going to be. I really love it. Really love it.
That's so cool. I absolutely adore it. And it's great also because it kind of reminds me, as of like vintage cartography and of these illustrations that I used to love as well. And I like the little nod to kind of your history as well. The little red cap that reminds me, of course, of the great Jacques Cousteau.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love also that you put the Swiss and the French flags up there as well. And then the seaplane too. That's really
you can even find the reservoir logo on the plane's tail, right? Some details. Or it's called the RSV plane. It's a reservoir nickname. No, it's cool. I mean, we discussed with Alain. We had several meetings with him, and he made several attempts. And this is the one that I think is working pretty well. It's very nice. I mean, you should see it in real because the paper and the colors working so well. It's beautiful.
Thank you very much. Well, I guess the last thing I'd like to talk about is that, this is, so we just, had the inspiration to start a charity auction. And I love the fact that you immediately contacted us and said you'd love to participate in this as well. So the charity auction that we're organizing, it's going to be launched on June 15th. It's going to be on a platform called Givergy, which is a business that specializes in creating websites for charity auctions. The entirety of the proceeds will be given to the charity. So the charity we've selected is the World Health Organization's COVID Solidarity Fund. However, we've also said that if you win the bid and you have some other, COVID-related charity that is an established and recognized one that you wish to have the money directed to, we are very receptive to this also. For us, this is about solidarity. It's about showing that we are one world, that until we eradicate COVID from every part of the world, no one is not affected by this. I think we can see what's going on now in Brazil, in Peru, in South Africa, and of course our hearts go out. There've been, of course, a lot of political turmoil in the United States for the last week, so we've been, we've been paying attention to that as well. But I think now more than ever, solidarity, sisterhood and brotherhood, that's the most important thing. What would you say, Francois?
I mean, that's exactly why when I received your email about this, I responded, I think in probably less than 5 minutes, just for me the time to read and just write it. So I decided in 1 second. I mean, that's a brilliant initiative. We supported already some French initiative in the very similar type, but yours is global, is It's very bright, very generous, and I think we need to have more solidarity. We need to be just prepared to a tougher world. And what you are doing, supporting the WHO, which has been suffering a lot. I mean, I don't want to go into polemics, but I think that's the right pick as well. So, having a call to say let's, and the initial name of the oddball. So let's take some bizarre pieces or watches that really did not exist or are not launched yet. I think it's super smart because it gives a lot of buzz, it a lot of interest to the watch lovers. So we have always been a super fan of Revolution and the Rec, but this is even further fan because I really love what you're doing. Really love.
Well, Francois, thank you so much, my friend. It's an absolute pleasure to speaking with you. Thank you again for your incredible generosity and for your friendship. So it's great. Thank you. Have a wonderful day and take care, my friend.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Bye.